All right. Well, welcome, Daniel and Lori. We're real excited to have you. And for those of you who are tuning into this is first for the first time, this is a monthly series where our goal is to spotlight experts and professionals in the moving, downsizing, and organizing category. But most importantly, this is a live and interactive discussion. So what we found is every one of these discussions is different because we get different questions from the audience. And JK Moving and Storage is our partner on this. And so before we get to know Lori and Daniel, Tom, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what JK Moving Services is all about.
Sure. JK Moving is a local independent, the largest independent mover in the United States. The headquarters is in Sterling. I am the general manager of our Maryland location, and we do household goods, furniture, and we do commercial office moving out of this location as well. We have storage, we have tractor trailers all over the United States delivering furniture, and we can do international as well.
Great. And you know, I've been in this business for 32 years, and you're the first mover that I ever stumbled into that has a commitment to really focusing on older adults. And it dates back over 2 decades. And so I'm really excited to have you helping us with these discussions. And so so Tom and I are going to bounce back and forth with Lori and Daniel, and then also we want your participation there in the audience and for interesting discussion questions. But let's start with Lori, which is one of the reasons that JK and Positive Aging Sourcebook have come together for these discussions is to spotlight the profession of senior and specialty move managers. There is a trade association that these professionals are members of called the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. And Lori, you happen to be part of that and in that segment. But before we dive into your profession, tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization. And I understand you've got some exciting new changes with your organization.
Yes, we actually had I'm the owner of Ararity Services, Ararity Recycling, and also now Ararity Auctions. And it's been a really exciting time. We find that one of the most challenging things about transitioning, moving, is we always hear at every age, what do I do with all of this stuff? All of this stuff becomes an orphan, and we have now decided to have our own auction and find a good home for all of these things that people thought were their treasures, and we can rehome them. So younger people of all ages, older people can buy these treasures and enjoy them just like they did. So it's part of the process. It's a rarity, and it's because our client is a rarity. Their items are a rarity, and their transition is a rarity. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Every
situation. I was wondering
the
origin of that name. Now, I always like to sort of get a little bit of the background. So how did you stumble into this profession, or what was your career path to, and you are a senior and specialty move manager as well?
Yeah, well, actually, it hit me at a very young age. It's a little bit of the antique business got me into this. I was little. I lived in Silver Spring, Maryland, and at a birthday party when I was 5 or 6, and it was, we're going to have a treasure hunt, and here's your map, and you have to find all of these treasures. Well, I found all of the treasures really quickly and thought, you know, I'd really like to be a treasure hunter when I grow up. I spent a lot of time in the antique and collectible business with my parents. I was a buyer for Nordstrom. I've been around a lot of stuff. I had an antique store in Old Town Alexandria. And it was at that time of my life where I met so many people that needed so much help. They would come in and say, we're moving. Can you sell the stuff? but what do we do with everything else? How can you help us? So I would spend a lot of time going into their houses and helping them sort for where they were moving, packing, decluttering, finding homes for those things, connecting a mover, and actually meeting them on the other end to unpack and set them up. And so I closed my store, and I had so many people calling and saying, we need your help. So that's when I
Great.
started the
I
business.
love it. Great. Well, Tom, let's get to know Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Sanders with For Sales. We work with both Lori and Daniel, so thank you very much for coming on today as well. Daniel,
you guys have been great partners over the years. So
thank you. Tell us a little bit about For Sales and a little bit about your background.
So For Sales is the DC area's largest professional estate sales company. We've been in business for 49 years, so this is our 49th year in a continuous operation. The company was founded originally back in 1972 by 4 enterprising young women who fairly quickly thereafter became 2 enterprising, slightly less young women, because this is a business that takes a lot of physical, there's a lot of physical work involved in it. And then 30 years later, I was fortunate enough to get involved with the company, and we have been growing like crazy ever since. My background is in the corporate environment. Unlike Lori, I didn't grow up treasure hunting, although I grew up in a home filled with beautiful things. It turns out that I have a little bit of a knack for this. We were determined to build something that could help people, and at the same time use the expertise that both my wife and I had gained working in the corporate environment.
I love it. All right. Well, we've got some questions that came in before the event, but I always like to just sort of kind of hear what's on your all's mind. And actually, I think a good opportunity for all 3 of you, because I know this will come up, is that we've gone through this insane, and we're still going through this insane, COVID environment. And obviously going into people's homes and, having live events and things of that nature, and moving possessions from one home to another is really challenging. Let's start with you, Tom. It's sort of like, what are some of the things that are going on in all 3 of your organizations as precautions for the challenges with COVID and infection?
Sure. So the first thing we did is, even before COVID, we had a way to do estimates virtually over the phone, to where we video and we calculate the items that need to be moved. So that was one great option for those people who did not want extra outside people in their home. Of course, once the move came, we have our movers. They get temperature checked in the morning. They have to wear a mask. They have cleaning supplies with them. The trucks get cleaned every night in the cabs and so forth. It's been very interesting. We've worked throughout the whole COVID period, and we've been very, very busy and very, very fortunate with all the work that we've done, and minimal downtime. Great.
Daniel, how about you? What's going on as far as COVID precautions? Because I guess historically, and both of you, Lori and Daniel, live auctions. I mean, but Daniel?
Sure. So 2020 was exciting, as you might imagine. Actually, I was out of town for my first vacation, my first real vacation in 2.5 years, on March 10th. We arrived at our destination on the evening of March 10th, and on March 11th, everything went into meltdown. But we were, that first week, everyone was trying to see what was going on and what was really actually happening. Actually, instinctively ordered disinfecting products right away, not having any idea what I would need, but I put in the orders to at least get ahead of the curve. We had stuff that didn't show up until 3 months later anyway. But we shut down for a little over 90 days. We shut down our resale operations. starting on March 15th. Our last on-site work day was actually March 17th at a location. And then we reopened on June 17th with our first live auction and June 19th with our first on-site estate sale. And we've been going full tilt ever since. We have taken very specific precautions. We've got what they call them, spit guards for the cashiers, and we have gloves and we have sanitizer available, and we require masks in accordance with all of the various jurisdictional regulations. But one of the things that we did that was probably the most useful, it got as always with change in the estate sale business, anything that is a change engenders reactions, both good and bad. But one of the things that I believe allowed us to reopen safely and fully in June of last year was the addition of an online numbering system to allow people access. And so we're still using that, and we're going to continue to use it, I believe, for the foreseeable future, where people can register by text message for entry into the event. They're immediately sent back a ticket, a visual of an entry number ticket with their number. And then on the day of the sale, we call them in via text message. And that's created some new opportunities for text marketing and a few other things as a result as well. So that was one. The other thing is that we continue to build out our online capabilities. Where we're seeing the greatest success with online sales is when we combine them, we simulcast them with our live auction, and that is where in our experience, where we're seeing the greatest level of success.
Great. No, that's excellent. And that's something that we're going to hopefully be doing with these discussions, is start doing some live and online. So I'll be curious to, we can get together and brainstorm on that.
Oh,
Lori, how about your organization and your operations in COVID and beyond COVID?
Just like Tom, we're doing so many virtual consultations, and people really like it. They feel comfortable in their homes. All of our employees wear, fresh PPE. We have been just as busy pre-pandemic. Nothing has really slowed down for us at all. We've been able to keep moving. As far as our auctions go, in the auction industry, most all of the auctions are online now. A lot of them are 100% online, just like we are. Kind of like eBay, we're 100% online. The sales have been very strong. We remove the items out of the homes, bring it back to our warehouse, photograph it, put it online, try to make stories for people. And what we call our auction, we have several different auctions going, usually all of the time. It's a very friendly auction called Treasures for Everyone. So if you go on to ararityauctions.com, we have specialty sales where people can sit in their bedroom in their pajamas and bid. The client that we take the items from can watch their items sell. This is a win-win situation. We have people that are getting rid of stuff and also buying other things at the same time. So it's fun.
Now, Lori, I mean, one of the things I want to make sure that our audience understands how valuable senior move managers are. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that profession and what you do as a senior move manager?
Sure. Senior move managers are very important because it really takes hand-holding. At any age, moving, transitioning is a very stressful event. A move manager actually can take over and coordinate everything and be like a buddy, hand-holding and emotional support. We go and we listen to what they have to say, and we help them whatever part of the project they may need help with. Some people will say, hey, I need help moving. I need help finding the things I want to move with me. I need help setting up my new apartment. I need staging. I need the staging to be done so my realtor of choice can help sell the house. I can't do this alone. I need help selling the items that we're not taking with us. I need a good mover. So we look at everything. They can use a move manager for one part of the picture or the whole process. And at the end, the unpack, we like them to sit back, relax, and say, hey, we made it. We got you here safely. We see people that try to do it on their own and they end up in the hospital. They're sad. There's no children to help. We're like a children helping people that need help. So it's very important. And again, with all of the move managers, you don't have to use a move manager from the very start with all the different, we do floor plans. You can pick and choose. And I think that makes people feel a lot better knowing, oh, I don't need all of that. They need us to go through and help change all of their addresses for billing or help find their credit cards, change the moving addresses. So we listen and we adapt to what they need.
I love it. And Tom,
So-
from a mover's perspective, what's your viewpoint on senior move managers?
Senior move managers they're important. They're hugely important. Organizing is the most important thing that a person can go through. And what Lori does every day is what help people that haven't moved in 20, 30, 50 years. They're not used to the common questions or the movers or how big a space planning needs to be. And 9 times out of 10, when a senior downsizes themselves and they go from a nice home that they've been in their whole life to a smaller, more manageable place, they tend to take too much. And as you're getting older, you'll trip over things and they're not organized and it's not friendly for you to move around. So someone like Lori can certainly help you get that, so your comfort of living in your new place is just unreal. It's great.
We've seen that where the client will take too much stuff and, there's JK, it's not going to fit. So, we always say, if you really want to see if it will fit, JK is so kind and they'll say, we'll try to position it. It's not on the floor plan, but we will try to do what we can do. And many times JK is delivering it to us. Now you got to sell this. They can't fit it. So we try to avoid that. Floor plans really help. It's one of the most important things of the process is having a floor plan.
No, this is great.
Absolutely.
So let's, we have a couple of questions that have already come in and we definitely want more feedback from all 3 of you, but I think sometimes diving into these questions, number 1, we're helping our audience, and number 2, it leads to some real interesting topics. So Tom, I'll take the one that came in via email, and then you can take the one that's there in Q&A. But the one that came in this morning says, from Pauline, says, after 25 years living in my condo, I'm moving to the Carolinas with my family. I'm overwhelmed, staging, downsizing, etc. Do you know someone that can help with getting the place ready for selling, or just holding my hands and letting me know what to do? Now, she's in Baltimore, and both of your operations are primarily in Northern Virginia, but I think this is a great, you can do that too. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Let's help this woman. Yeah.
We work in DC, Maryland, Virginia, Delaware. If our clients want us to go to Florida and unpack, we've gone to Texas, Florida.
Okay, great.
We're here. And on the other side, part of the NASMM, we can actually find someone in North Carolina.
That's what I was
to
going
help you unpack and set up whatever you need on that end.
Yeah. But let's kind of give Pauline some advice, and it may or may not be, just words of wisdom. Right now, it sounds like she's doing it all on her own. Giving her a few tips if she keeps on doing it on her own, and then helping her with some resources. Daniel, you had something you wanted to add?
Sure. Well, the floor plan of the receiving location has got to be the starting point for her, so she can determine what goes with her and what doesn't. So that decision making, I'm actually a big believer in an emotional litmus test to make decisions on what you keep versus not keep. So basically, the items you keep fall into 2 categories. They're either the pragmatic and the practical. So it's a toaster, I need a toaster, I'm taking a toaster, or it's the emotional. And that's the harder part of this. And I recommend an emotional litmus test. So it sounds maybe something like this. I remember when Aunt Joan and I went to Rehoboth Beach and we bought that blue Murano glass seagull. And if that's where the sentence ends, quite honestly, so what, who cares? It's just stuff. But if it's, I remember when Aunt Joan and I went to Rehoboth Beach and we bought that god awful blue Murano glass seagull and emotional charge, and it was one of the best days we'd had together in 10 years. And you get some ridiculous story about seagulls and thrasher's fries afterwards. Then you know you have an item you should consider keeping. Now, I chose my words carefully there. You're considering keeping them. You put all the items that fall into that category together, all the smaller items, put them on a table someplace. You mark all of the larger pieces of furniture that fall into the same category, not the pragmatic stuff, but the emotional stuff. And then you wait 24 to 36 hours and you go back with a stated intention of trying to reduce the volume by 50%. Most people fail miserably. Honestly, they fail miserably. They get about 20% carved off the top. But the good news is that leaves them with pretty much exactly the right volume, value, and variety of items that they should take with them that they'll be able to display and enjoy. So that's just a little tip that.
Yeah, good words of wisdom. And just, our possessions, they are storytell. They're things we can tell stories about. And I've never heard that approach. I like that. Lori, any words of wisdom for Pauline?
Yeah, taking baby steps. I don't know, Pauline, your timeline, but setting a timer or taking some old papers and watching Jeopardy and through 30 minutes of just sorting some papers, just getting any baby step, tiny step done makes you feel a lot better. You open your linen closet, put a clear bag, and there's probably towels that you're not using. Start with a linen closet or start with your pots and pans. You may have cooked for years and had many visitors, but do you need 10 pots and pans anymore? So taking a box and just starting in an area, choosing an area. When I do a kitchen, we say we'll go left to right. Start at the left side and just very slowly go all the way around the room until you've done a 360-degree turn.
Yeah. You got to keep, Lori, you got to keep your ADD in check, right? You go start in one corner and go around. Don't skip around.
Set your timer. Again, baby steps. A whole project can be overwhelming, but there are people that can help you. And just knowing that there's people out there that can help you with this, you can relax, sit back, but start with baby steps and a timer. Everybody has a cell phone or set it for 15 minutes, put some music on, dance around, baby steps.
Yeah, I love
that. Steve, what Lori calls baby steps, we actually refer to as elbow room. So different company, different terminology, same idea.
Daniel and I know each other from a lacrosse field. So
a long time ago. So it's interesting that if you just the act of doing something, as Lori said, and creating a little bit of space allows you to create more space and create more space and create more space. And that's the progress. The timer, Lori talks about a timer. We refer to working in time blocks because it's one thing to do a time block. The trick is to take a small break and do another one, and take a small break and do another one. And it gets you through a home fairly quickly.
Yeah, well, I know from talking to our readers, just giving people permission to do these in small time segments is important, because what happens is you get so overwhelmed, you don't do anything, and then it never gets done, and then you try to do it all in one weekend. So Tom, let's give them some of these questions that are rolling in.
Sure. Maurice is asking, getting rid of personal treasures can be very traumatic for older adults. How do caregivers do this gently with their loved ones? And
good question.
And I really think, Lori hit it on the head when, you have the experience, and you give the people the confidence that you know what you're doing, and you emotionally help them through it, right?
And letting the client know, or the person in transition, that this was your treasure at once. Let's find a new home for that treasure. It may be somebody in their 20s or 30s, but let's give somebody that joy that you found in that item. Let's find somebody that's going to love that item just like you did. So that's what we tell our clients. We can find a new home for it, for somebody new that will love this item.
Right. Yeah, the ultimate recycling. We take these items and put them that have run their course in your family's life and move them into the next family's life for the next 10, 20, 30 years. We actually think that one of the most important factors in helping somebody make these decisions and make this decision to proceed is twofold. One is involving them in the process. So a hands-off approach where the individual has no involvement, and everybody has their own level of required involvement, but no involvement at all almost invariably is going to create other stresses and problems. The other thing is giving people permission, whether it's you as a family member or us as an outside professional, permission to ask for help. Because generationally, the people who are going through these transitions now, and by 2030, the last of the baby boomers will be 65 years or older, although they keep fiddling with the definition of what is a baby boomer. But getting the permission to get outside assistance is a big deal, because that's the me do myself generation. And
Well, one quick thing too is it's a therapeutic process. You mentioned a trip down memory lane for the caretaker. It's a trip down memory lane for the client. The client gets to relive these things, which is very healthy before they get rid of it, or it goes. It's a therapeutic process, and story after story just really helps that client. Everybody loves to tell a story about themselves. Now this is their chance.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I'm going to read this next question from Robin Hall because it's specifically to all three of you. And it says, Lori, Tom, and Daniel, do you help with hoarding clients to assist with clearing out, organizing, and possibly selling items? I work with low-income households. Do you offer any affordable fixed rates or pro bono services? Many of the elderly I serve do not have the finances to pay for movers or an organizer. Love to hear your feedback and suggestions for Robin.
We all work, we all do it. Tom, I know you do it. Daniel, we do it. We offer special prices. We work for the city of Alexandria. We work with attorneys. We do it all the time with our goal in mind, not getting dumpsters there and throwing everything out. There's family photos that usually need to be found, sometimes wills, documents, and the treasures that can be sold to help pay for the process. And Tom, I know you do the same thing. And
absolutely. Yeah. Every case is different. You have to look at it, find out what the needs are, where we can help, what's the assistance, and what can we do best for the client.
And
we actually budget every year to be able to help out, when it's really critical for someone. We basically pull some profit off of another job to make sure that we have enough in a kitty to cover people who really need the assistance. Like Lori, we try to find items that will help cover the cost. One of the things that does make us a little bit different is that we, as for sales, we really only do one thing and one thing well. We're very, very focused on our efforts, and that is to sell and value personal property. We offer charity hauling, trash hauling, and all these other things, paint and chemical removal to empty out a home. But all of those support services we offer already at or around cost. We never seen them as profit centers per se. We're rather trying to earn our money, what we call the fair way on what we sell is what we're trying to do. So those other services are always offered at or around cost.
And Robin, because you brought up how do you help hoarding clients, one of the programs that we did early on was with Matt Paxton, the host of the TV show Hoarders. And one of the interesting things that he always says is that with a hoarder, cleaning out their house is kind of like taking a beer out of the hand of an alcoholic, is that if there's a problem there that needs to be treated. And that's why so often we see, you clean out a hoarder's house and then suddenly it's all back to normal. It's identifying what that pain is and what that problem is and why this dysfunctional behavior is occurring. And so, given that you work with lower income clients, you know, looking also at social services and seeing if there's anything there. Out of curiosity, with the three of you, have you had any hoarding situations and maybe some creative solutions that you were involved with in your careers?
We
Sure.
deal with a lot of hoarding. I deal with, it's very common actually, especially in this DC metro area. It's listening to the client and never saying you don't need this. This is trash. It's really listening to what they say. And like you said, finding out, usually there's a social worker when the person is involved with the case. A lot of times the person is deceased and we have to, you know, just clear it out. But every case is totally different. I'm working with one case right now, and there's probably 2,000 really good guitars and really nice high-end things that have been hoarded, and it's not trashed, and it all has to be sold. And so every case is different. We've worked with people where they can't get to their bed, and we have to clear a path and clear the doors so they can stay in the house. But again, a senior movement manager can help with that. It's a hand-holding process, and knowing that their items are not going to be thrown out and that they're going to be donated or they're going to be sold. It's just the communication through the process and being kind.
Yeah.
Kind.
You know, Lori, because you brought up the guitars, it's sort of like, and both of you are in this auction world. People always love to hear, what are the hot items these days? Like what, so Daniel and Lori, I'd love to sort of hear kind of like, what are some of the things that are popular now? I'm assuming the little ceramic figurines and Beanie Babies are not on the top 10 list these days, are they?
Beanie
No.
Babies are never on the top 10 list.
Darn it, I have a whole bag at home.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's maybe addressing, you know, I think one of the things with the downsizing, maybe the two of you kind of addressing the topic of things that we think that are valuable and we've been holding on to, but they don't really contain value. I mean, I always love hearing you guys talk about things like that.
Sure. Laura, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. The obvious is silver and gold. It's a commodity. It's hot. It's high. You can watch the market. Mid-century modern, Danish, anything in Denmark. I just got an ugly doll. It's called Ugly Naugahyde doll. We have it on our modern auction. Somebody would say, hey, it's trash. It's worth about $750. Ephemera. Political memorabilia. Look around. The DC area is filled with great ephemera. I sold a Glen Echo ticket for $250, a little bit wrinkled. Concert tickets, rock and roll. I hate to say this, sex sells. Vintage Playboy, films. China is selling again, believe it or not. Lennox keeps saying, hey, we're going to go out of it. We're closing. We're not closing. Lennox is going up again. Waterford, we're getting good money again for Waterford. This is the biggest thing, though, that I have to say. It's different for every age. You know, I'm not into the posters, the velvet posters that we bought at Spencer's in the 60s, 70s. But 20-year-olds, hey, I want one of those. Or the telephone with the rotary dial. Some of these 20-year-olds have never seen that. Don't throw your rotary phones out. Save them. Sell them as a collection. Vinyl records, rock and roll is hot. Yeah, there you go. Yellow one too.
Like there's a prop on this.
Anything on Blue Note Records, jazz, you know, good rock and roll. You can look it up. I think the Sex Pistols vinyl record now is worth like $3,000 or $4,000. So besides the Beatles, which everybody knows, hey, the Beatles are hot. Check out the top 100 records that are hot right now. I'm going to say one more thing. Toys, vintage toys. Every age group. Pokemon now is just skyrocketing. So if any of these mature adults have their kids' stuff that are still in their house or their attic, save those Pokemon cards. Take them and sell them, or give your kids a deadline to get it out. And Matchbox cars, look for the red line wheel with the red line around the tire. But if your gut says it's good and it's quality, it probably has some value. We always tell our clients, look for quality, not quantity. In the DC area, there's something good in every house.
Yeah. So Lori's covered a lot of the categories. It is a great summary, Lori. We're seeing a lot of what's driving the categories that Lori was describing is the fact that it's people our age. It's people in their late 40s, 50s, and 60s who are nostalgically looking back. There was a conversation yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about these what is that, creepy crawly forma kits, the vacuum form, you know the one I'm talking about, Lori, where you
Yeah,
would
they're cool.
put
With the
these
little things
yeah,
you
you
mold.
put the little
Yeah.
little dots of stuff out of little bottles and it would form into a creepy crawly animal, and everyone's going crazy about these things. One other category that is doing extremely well right now is firearms. It's being driven by a lot of the changes in regulations. So with the correct application of the local, state, and federal laws, having a federal firearms license person present, the market is extremely hot for those types of items right now. The other sort of knock-on benefit or side benefit to reselling them in the appropriate manner is unregistered weapons become registered as a result of the process. But I would absolutely agree that mid-century is hot. It's so to answer the previous question and this one, we actually are working with a hoarding home, and you have people who hoard Beanie Babies, God help us, and you have people who hoard jewelry, and then you have the whole spectrum in between. We're actually doing a job where we're in the process now of getting rid of the things that really have no resale value. But we've removed a vehicle from the property. We removed over 50 boxes, 50 shoebox or greater sized boxes of fine and silver jewelry. We removed firearms from the same property. We've removed all of the collectibles and artwork. And so by the time we get through that process, it will more than cover the substantial cost of getting rid of the old newspapers and old magazines and lots and lots of linens that, we take as many to the animal shelter as we can, but there's a limit on absorption there too. But that's, it's interesting where you see the things that sell well combining with the hoarding scenario and being able to use the items to cover the cost of getting those homes empty and still returning an economic return.
I always say if people can't go and find it, then they want it, then it has value. If you can't just find it and you have to look for it, it's probably a good chance there's value in it because everybody wants one they can't have. So,
Right. Tom, you want to read some of these questions, and then there's one from Jennifer Brown in chat. It says, French antiques, 100+ years old furniture in good condition. Any market for something like this?
Sure, bring it on. It's not as interesting as mid-century modern teak or rosewood, but sure, bring it on. Why not?
it's taken a hit, but if it has a really good look and it's just interesting to look at, beautiful, just really cool, then chances are there is a market for it. The French and Italian antiques were really, really hot about 10 years ago. So there has been a drop. And also with the regular brown mahogany furniture, it seems like down south towards Richmond, they're getting a little bit more money. We have a lot more stuff in this area. It's full, so we can be picky about what we buy and what we look at. But French and Italian antiques, I think it's going to turn around because some of the stuff's so interesting to look at. So I would say there's definitely value. We've seen pieces that have been appraised at 12, 14,000, some beautiful armoires that are only worth around 200 to 400 right now. So
yeah, armoires is definitely a tough space. So if you're trying to get rid of an armoire, that's going to be tough. That and entertainment centers.
Actually, this is a good one for all three of you. And this is somebody, I know we have a lot of professionals on the call, and I've seen a bunch of realtors in chat. And let's see, Reagan says, is there anything specific that your realtor partners can do to help the move managers be more successful? What are you looking for when partnering with realtor partners? And yeah, all three of you, how can realtors work best with all three of your organizations?
I like, I'm sorry to interrupt. I like creating a timeline that gives these clients enough time to work through their items and be a little bit patient. We all know that the Washington DC market's hot. So just giving that, I run into a lot of clients that feel a lot of pressure and a lot of stress when the realtor says, you got to get it out of here. So just a nice timeline, 30, 60 days, we hear 2 weeks, or they have to have it out immediately. Give them that therapeutic time to work through it. And a move manager can really assist with that, listening to the stories and letting these things go on their own, and working with a timeline with all of us. So we all know, hey, I really would like to list this house by a certain date. And just giving us all, the mover needs a timeline, Daniel needs a timeline, we need a timeline to work through this. So that I would say is probably the number one thing that we would feel great to have, a timeline and a little bit of time.
My recommendation would be call us early and often. It's like voting in Chicago, early and often. If we are doing our jobs correctly, this for the benefit of the realtors, if we are doing our jobs correctly, we should make you shine. We should help you garner more listings because you've solved the number one concern. So we've spent the last decade surveying clients, potential clients, past clients, always asking the same questions. Where did the business come from? How'd you get our name and number? How did you find us? And then secondarily, or just as equally important, is what is the thing that has kept you from doing this, from making this transition, making this move until now? And the answer overwhelmingly, consistently and overwhelmingly has been, I don't know what to do with my stuff. So for the realtors, if you can bring us in early and often to help them solve that particular problem, it helps all the other pieces fall in place. And Lori's 100% right. A timeline that doesn't take these people to the maximum stress level because they're already stressed.
Love it. Tom, how about you? Like the realtors that are, might not, it might just be a realtor and they're coming to you with a move, with or without a move manager. Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, there's a number of things that can be done. Of course, realtors are a great resource for JK Moving. If the customer or the person moving has the financial means and knows where they're going, I always suggest getting out what they want first, get their new place set up so it's comfortable. Whether you take too much or not enough, you can always add or subtract a little bit, and then think about how to get rid of the remaining items, maybe set it up for staging with the remaining items, get some of the items out. And then if there is not that luxury of having a place already, we could put into storage the items that people would like and then empty out the other way, whether it's donation or auction or what have you.
Cool. No, that's great. Let's see, okay, this question from Ed is really good. Suggestions for weeding out family pictures and movies.
I've got one for that.
Me too.
Keep the photos of the people that you know. Start with that. Get rid of the ones of the people you don't know who they are. That's one way to get rid of some of it. You can find a digitizer, or you can find somebody to scan the photos, organize them that way. But just sit down for that 30 minutes during Jeopardy and start, I don't even know who these people are. So weed out, give away gifts, make packages, get glad bags. If it's a certain family, cousins, take those, sort them out, send them to them and say, hey, remember me? Here's some photos. I thought you would enjoy them. Give them for holiday gifts, birthdays, just start giving them away, keeping the ones that are precious and dear to you, and possibly scanning after that.
So we recommend actually having, when you go through the house, so we talk about a 4-step process to preparing for an estate sale. Photos is step number 1. We recommend that you have a box for you, so the ones you want to keep, a box for your siblings or other family members that they want to keep, a box for sort of other, and a box for getting rid of them. So you start, indeed, like Lori said, with the people you don't know, get rid of them. And then once you've gone through that process, indeed distribute them. And actually, of the digitizers, the one that consistently has sort of the best offers is iMemories.com. And their ongoing cloud service is pretty good because they'll digitize photos, they'll convert videotapes, they'll convert Super 8s and 8mm films, and then they'll upload the whole nonsense up onto the cloud, and you can either then have it issued as DVD or multiple DVDs, or you can continue to have it resident in the cloud, and that way it can be shared with family members that way.
Cool. The let's see, here's another one that's pretty good from Ken Silverstein. I have my parents' complete fine china dinnerware. I've contacted, I guess it's a company called Remnants, and they were not interested as they had more than enough of that pattern. Any suggestions on how to sell or what to do in a situation like this?
I say auction. It's puts it out there. There may be somebody that needs some of his pieces, the whole collection. Replacements.com, if he hasn't tried replacements.com, but they'll even buy on auction. So I think auction, we're not establishing a price. We're not telling them it's not going to sell. Remember, an auction is, it just needs two people that want the same item, and the sky's the limit. We see that all of the time. You see it at the major auction houses. It's competition, it's momentum. So I would highly recommend,
Okay.
or, Daniel, maybe putting it as one of his estate sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you don't want to sell it, you can always turn it into mosaics.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ken, hopefully that was helpful. He did go to replacements. That's who said that they had too much of that pattern. And okay.
The way replacements works is that if it's something they have lots of inventory for, they'll offer you 5 to 10 cents a plate, if that, and they've even stopped doing that in all cases. If it's something they need, they'll offer you several dollars per plate. But you've got to keep in mind that replacements.com is in the onesie twosie business. They're in the business of replacing the coffee cup saucer that you broke, and they know you're willing to pay a premium if you're looking to replace it. And that's the core of what they do. But their warehouses are pretty impressive. They, in their specialty niche, Tom, they kind of rival you guys. It is a big warehouse filled with nothing but China.
Hey, Daniel, you had referenced a website, I think iMemory.
iMemory.com.
Wait, what is it called?
I'll put it in the chat box.
Okay, because I guess some folks were trying to go to it and
There you go.
okay. Oh,
So
memories.com.
there was a question in the chat from Kieran about a company in southern New Jersey, right?
Yeah, somebody was looking, yes.
Yeah, it might be worth a conversation with April's Estate Sales. They service that area. They're pretty strong.
Okay, great. All right, guys, I like to let people know we've got about 4 minutes till the top of the hour. So make sure that you jump in if you've got any questions, and boom, we've got a couple more that came in. Oh, I want to note this one here. John McCarthy, he's been talking to Matt Paxton about being featured on the show Legacy List because his mom has a property with dozens of old Studebakers, and he was just curious about if you think doing something like this would be okay, or if it might be too stressful for his 84-year-old mother. I always love giving Matt Paxton a plug for his TV shows because they're so interesting. But curious on your all's thoughts. My personal thought on there, John, is your mom better than anyone, and I would say if she's excited about doing that, then without a doubt, if she's a little nervous and it seems like it's going to be something that adds additional stress, it's probably not worth having her being featured on a TV show. But I'm curious at the panelists' thoughts.
Well, I'll go with your thoughts on that. I think that nobody's going to know John's mother better than John. But if it's too stressful for her, I'm hella interested in a bunch of Studebakers.
Yeah, me too. If she's, she
I got
may,
there first, Lori. That one's mine.
yeah, she may be proud of the fact that she has all of these cars, or she may be embarrassed in the condition. And is that a hoarding? Is it? So we don't know, but it's definitely, if it's his mother's decision. I would say if she's the person that owns them, really communicating with his mom and letting her make that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's too overwhelming and it's too much, and as we said earlier, do a little bit at a time. Take what she really doesn't want, clear that out, and take it to auction or recycle or whatever it is.
And if they're not worth anything, we have a scrapper that can go out there and scrap, take the parts. But there's so many different things, and he needs the titles for those cars.
Yeah, the titles are probably the paperwork, and right now
The
due
paperwork is a
diligence
nightmare.
Hey, Tom, can you move those cars if we need them moved?
We would call a flatbed service. We don't have flatbed.
Wait a second, guys. I have that grapple truck. We can just put a thing on it and lift them.
Yeah, but that's for scrap. If we want to resell them, I
No, we
wanna
can
move them.
resell them. We'll put the chains on, lift them, put them in the car, and drive them
There you
wherever
go.
they need to go.
Let's see. Okay. Robin Hall asks, are rates on your website? This is probably for all of you. Would you share the cost average for your services, minimum, maximum? Lori, is organizing an auction part of the service you offer? I have to advocate for funding at times. Robin, what I would say is I'm going to give you the contact to reach out to all three of our panel members and let them sort of give you some overviews on pricing there. And then let's see. Oh, this is interesting. Thank you for the memory.com thing. Do you know a company that could help with very old photos, journals, letters, Bibles, how to preserve, protect on the cloud and share with multiple family members? That's
I talked to iMemories. They
oh,
do that.
okay. That
I-
same website. Okay.
Yeah, I just found them to be a little bit more consistent in the quality of the output and the way they handle customers.
Oh, here's a good one. Susan Hart asks, what's the market for tools? I have a workshop full of them.
What's Susan's number?
They're great.
It's great. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But wow, I can't believe, well, we're at the end of the hour. Lots of comments in there that John McCarthy says he's got all the titles to those Studebakers.
All right, there you go. That's great.
For everybody in the audience, I mean, as you can see, all three of the folks on the panel are great resources. And my recommendation is just reach out to them, and they're fantastic resource. If they can help you, they're going to help you. If they can't, they're going to point you in the direction of somebody who can. But I love these discussions, man. Tom, these things are different every month.
Every time. It's great.
Oh, okay. Here, I got to ask this one. I have a probate sale listing. Recommendations for selling art.
And art is it?
Okay, Mindy, I would just Mindy, since we're at the top of the hour, reach out to these guys and gals, and they will help you with the.
Just one thing to keep in mind about art is that what some people call art is really nothing more than prints or posters, and some prints and posters are good and some are not. You need more information than that. Every property, every project is going to deliver anywhere from 40 to 140 pieces of quote unquote artwork. Not all of it is of value. The vast majority is going to be of decorative, what we call decorative art. I think that Lori uses the same terminology. And then you're going to have a small percentage that is the good pieces that will generate the money.
And art's very personal. So it depends
like.
on what the subject matter is. But I have in-home complimentary personal visits we can do, or we can do something on Zoom, and so can Daniel. But just getting, emailing some photos, and if it's something that is out of my knowledge, I have just like, we can provide you with contacts that, in New York and all over the United States and internationally. So if there's something that's out of our league, some things are better off selling in their country they came from. So
we had a good one the other day. We had a really good one the other day. Last fall, we found a painting. I saw it. I recognized it when I was in there. Weird thing to recognize was a subcontinental Indian modernist. The painting was an original done at a moment in that artist's career where he had sort of an epiphany, a religious epiphany. And it had a pre-auction estimate of $20,000 to $30,000, and it sold yesterday for $87,500.
Wow.
Yep, I had one too recently. It was a lot of attorneys asked me to do a double check to make sure there's nothing good in the house. And I flipped over the mattress and there was a Picasso in between the sheets. And that too did in the 80s. And there's all kinds of stories. I mean, if we went into what's hot right now, brass trains are really, 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 really hot. There's a great buyer in Florida. So brass trains are very hot right now and high end. So always get a professional to look at it so you don't mess up. Don't have a yard sale and give it away. If in your gut you say, hey, I think this might be worth something, check it. There's lots of places to go to get somebody just to give you an opinion. So we're all here to help you. I'm here, Daniel's here, Tom's here. So we're all here at any time and we're all accessible for everyone.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, this has been great. And Tom, looking forward to next month and see what we uncover then. And I want to thank both you, Lori and Daniel, for being on our panel this month. And we'll share the
Kristen's here
recording.
too. She's going to wave. She's just having trouble with her computer.
Hi,
So this is great. So we'll see you guys at the next one. And thanks again.
And thank you so much for including all of us. We really had a good time and thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Lori. Appreciate it.